video, I'm going to introduce the term enzymatic pathway. What is an enzymatic pathway? If you've had a biology class, you may have heard of the term glycolysis. There are lots of pathways in your body, in metabolism. And glycolysis happens to be 10 enzymatic reactions. The product of one reaction becomes the substrate of the next reaction. So all 10 reactions are dependent on the one before. So you've got the first enzyme, then the second enzyme, then the third enzyme. So you've got 10 enzymes. You start off with one substrate. That substrate becomes a product. And then that product becomes the substrate of the next enzyme. So that's what a pathway is. So I have a little sort of mini pathway right here. So I'm showing you, okay, so this is substrate number 1. This is what you're starting off with, okay? And this is an arrow, and then I have the enzyme over the arrow. Sometimes you put the name of the enzyme over the arrow because the enzyme, remember, is not a reactant, it's not a product, it's never consumed. So sometimes we just put the name over the arrow, and you'll see that in the week 8 videos when I start talking about metabolism. All right, so in this hypothetical pathway here, this substrate, because of this enzymatic reaction, becomes product number 1. Okay, but then this product number 1 becomes the substrate for enzyme number 2. Okay, so the idea of a pathway is that the product of one reaction becomes the substrate of the next reaction. And you see over here, product 2 now becomes the substrate of this enzyme. And then you get product 3. And then product 3 becomes the substrate of this enzyme. And then the end product is product 4 in this hypothetical. Okay, so there's a type of inhibition called feedback inhibition. Feedback inhibition. And this type is a type of non-competitive. Non-competitive, if I can spell. Non-competitive. Oh, I was fine. Okay, so feedback inhibition is a type of non-competitive inhibition. And this is the way your body regulates a whole bunch of pathways. So basically, let's say you ate 100 fat-free muffins because someone told you that if you don't eat any fat, you could just eat anything else you want to and no problem, you won't be storing any fat. Obviously, that's not true. So let's say you ate all this extra carbohydrate. Now, normally what the body will do is it will use all this carbohydrate to get ATP, to make some energy, right? Makes sense. But you're a couch potato, you're sitting around, you're not moving, and you just ate 100 muffins. And your body doesn't need all that ATP. You haven't been working out, you're just sitting down. Okay. So what your body starts to do is like, it says, okay, I already have too much of this. I now need to not convert this carbohydrate to energy. Instead, I need to convert it to fat. Okay, so what your body will do is it will take one of the products of the pathway and it will stop the pathway and force the carbohydrate to go down a different pathway to now, instead of turning the carbohydrate to energy, let's turn it to fat and let's just store it as fat. So that's how your body will regulate a pathway. So in this little small hypothetical over here, let's say we keep making product 4, keep making product 4, we have too much product 4. We don't need any more product 4. We want to stop this pathway. So the trick is to usually stop the first enzyme of the pathway. So that's what the term feedback is. What happens is that this end product will feed back and act as an inhibitor to enzyme 1. It will inhibit enzyme 1. And it makes sense that P4 doesn't look at all like S1. Like this initial substrate, we already turned it into this and then turned it into this. And so this guy does not look like this. So it's not competitive inhibition. It's non-competitive. Where will this guy bind? It will bind on an alternate site, right? Because it doesn't look like the substrate. It can't bind in the active site. Once it binds on an alternate site, this enzyme is inhibited. That's it. You will never be able, at least for now, turn it into P1 or P2, or that's it. Because you had reached a maximum of P4. You don't want to make any more of it. Your body regulates by feeding back. So then what happens to all this S1? We go down a different pathway. Again, so that was that little example I gave you, that if in theory this is a carbohydrate and you want to get energy out of it, but you ate too much carbohydrate, you're not moving, you're not a marathon runner, or you're just sitting around doing nothing, you ate way too much, you're not going to be creating a whole bunch of ATP. Now we're going to block this first enzyme to prevent it from going over here, and now we're going to turn all this extra carbohydrate into fat. The good news about this is that it's reversible. Just like all non-competitive inhibition, it's reversible. Let's say now in your body, the level of this goes down. So then what happens? It comes off of this, and this whole pathway is opened up. So whichever enzyme you inhibit, you start accumulating the thing that's in front of it. So let's say if I inhibit this enzyme, I'll have lots of P1. If I inhibit this enzyme, I'm going to have lots of this. But if I inhibit this enzyme, now I have a lot of this guy, and it has to go over to a different pathway. So you get the idea of feedback inhibition? Okay, so all this, we're going to tie it in with the last unit, which is metabolism. I'll show you how we use pathways. I'll show you how carbohydrates are used to make energy, how lipids are used to make energy. If depending on how much time we have, I'll show you a little bit about catabolism and anabolism. I'll see how many videos I'll create for that. Okay, so we are all set with enzymes. I think we've covered everything on the what you need to know list. Okay, good. I will see you in the next unit.